Alrighty, so I came across this Reddit post that I thought was really interesting. This guy did a really good job about outlining his specific use case that he needed for the specific app. So I thought, hey, why not take a crack at building out a different solution? I'll make a video about it, and here we are. So basically, this is a Reddit post. I can link to it probably in the comments here, but a company that is a screen printing company, so he gets different orders. They go through a whole different process. He needs to track all of this, as well as do kind of some light CRM tools like connecting with customers, tracking information, things of that nature. So basically, he needs to be able to track various different items, kind of like I outlined, as well as different status type things. He also wants the ability to see kind of how much scheduled work per day there is, and how much upcoming work there is, just so he can kind of balance that out as well. Ideally, he'd like to have 4, 5, or 6 users without any kind of additional cost. That is a little bit tricky with a lot of platforms. It's often a per seat cost, but maybe there are some workarounds with that. But of course, no additional costs for different views, which is super annoying. Right now he's using Monday.com, which is charging him for different views, so that's a little bit frustrating. Some different task management for staff, kind of some marketing initiatives here, and then some CRM features like managing contacts and then conversations, setting kind of reminders. Doesn't need a sales pipeline, only kind of the table and chart views. Those are easy to configure either way in Airtable. And then ideally would like to connect it with some email options, MailChimp, Gmail, and QuickBooks. We aren't going to cover that one in this video here, just because these, although they totally can connect with Airtable, the easiest way to do it is through kind of some scripting or using a low-code tool like Make or Zapier to connect all of these. So I'm just going to ignore that part for now because he said it was optional. So basically, we'll take a quick look at Monday.com. This is what he's using, the competition, if you will, in terms of pricing. He said, I believe, that he would end up needing this guy here. Looks like, I have my window shrunk down a little bit, but looks like their mobile friendliness is not quite there. They need to work on that. But it looks like it would be probably $26 per seat per month. And then if we go over to Airtable here, this guy here, if we look at pricing, they are, the one he could use is, it is still $24 billed monthly versus the $26, but you do get kind of unlimited. With the option I'm going to propose today, you could actually do this with the free plan. Just the real catch here is he said he had maybe 3,000 customers that he needed to have. It's going to be a little bit much, because you can only go up to 1,000 per base here. But that being said, let's take a look at what the options are here. Okay, so I've loaded it up with a bunch of artificial data just to kind of play around with things. We have a few different tabs along the top. We have orders, we have contacts, some marketing tasks, conversations to track, kind of like how you would have in a CRM. Like I sent this email on this date and I had this note on this date and called them at this time, right? That kind of a thing. And then sales tasks as well. So any kind of follow-up reminders that they want to set for themselves. So the basics here, obviously, I've created different views along the side just to kind of mark out each stage. That's usually how I like to configure it, especially if there are a lot of different fields kind of going across here, right? This gets pretty overwhelming to look at all of these. So I just kind of made kind of new orders, design phases, needs, calls, follow-ups, and timeline. And then they can adjust the status, and that will automatically put them into the different phases there. In terms of kind of whether the free plan is going to work or the paid plan, or how you can kind of get around a little bit the extra plan there, basically they charge per user. So if you wanted different assignees in here, you'd have to have different users in your account. If you want to get around that, you could theoretically make just one user account or 2, have it be shared, and then just assign them with a drop down like that with different people's names. That definitely would work for a lot of different use cases, especially for this particular one, how I have it set up. They can add in the garments, and then it does relate it back to a different customer or contact. So this whole contact table obviously has all of the basic contact info. Got ChatGPT to make me some fake data to put in here, and then they can track all of that. They can also manage the different orders they have per person. they can see kind of the different conversations in here hypothetically, and they can also do the sales tasks. This email information, I'll get to it later, but basically it's for sending out emails. We'll pop over here to the kind of conversations area as well. Basically, these are just hypothetical conversations, emails that go in and out, and I'll attach the customer. They wouldn't actually need to edit anything in here. It's going to all be in a nice clean interface that we're going to look at in a second here. And then sales tasks, again, very similar, to do or done, what they need to do with them, who it's related to, what the task actually is. And then marketing tasks, I left this pretty open-ended just because it's a little bit unclear on what marketing tasks and that kind of a thing. But again, very customizable. You could assign it however, mark your statuses. You can even add attachments as well. And of course, you can see it all in a nice handy calendar. One thing I didn't mention was the Airtable does have the ability, obviously, to add attachments in here. So you can upload kind of the creative or the mock-up that they're looking for and kind of connect it all in with everything else, which is super handy whenever you are working with a lot of different data, and especially when it's like a creative type business like this. So let's hop into this interface here. This is kind of like the main view that basically is going to function like a CRM for them. So if we go and preview this, they can kind of click on the different names. Of course, they can search because they're going to have more than just a few customers in there. They can update the notes really easily, see their phone number, etc., etc. If they do want to add in new tasks, it's very easy to do with just this quick form here. They can see all the orders, add a quick reference. They can send email as well. So just type in here and then send email. So this send email button is a automation that gets triggered kind of when you hit the button. So it'll go out to this email account. So it runs this automation. So basically when a button is clicked, it sends an email out to the email with the custom subject line and the custom text in there. If we did want to throw an attachment in there, we could as well. It would even be possible that if they needed to send out some invoices, they'd be able to kind of itemize each of the invoices, generate those all automatically, generate the PDF and attach it all in one handy email, and then it records the conversation as well in here. There is another option. So basically, if somebody was to send an email through the send email function right now, it would look like it's coming from Airtable, which can be a little bit confusing for people because it's like, well, why is Airtable emailing me? But you can also connect in your Gmail itself here, and then or Microsoft for that matter, and then you would be able to send an email actually with your Gmail account, which then it looks like it's coming from you. It gets all tracked in your Gmail or your Outlook accounts, and that can be much more handy depending on what exactly your use case is. Then also what I did was build in a couple of different forms. So basically, whenever somebody wants to submit a new order, we need to collect both their information as a contact as well as the information about their order. So basically, it initially submits their information as the contact and then redirects them to the submit an order page. Is this the most ideal situation? No. If you were to use maybe a different form building tool and connect it all in together, you might get a little bit of a better interface, some more customizations. You could also make sure that you're not duplicating any kind of records in there as well. But once your customer is kind of already a customer, you could just send them submit an order request and they could just repeat orders that way as well. Maybe if you wanted to have some different options to upload files, you could do that too, so that they can kind of give a clear example of what they're looking for, or maybe they have a logo that they want uploaded onto their item as well, or something like that. So that's really the basics of this whole CRM Lite system built with Airtable. It's fairly basic. There's a lot more things you could do with it. Call tracking. You could integrate it with a Twilio or call tracking system to get transcriptions. You could build in calendar invites and things of that nature if you need to do calendar booking. One more, I guess, important point, though, that he was looking for. So I built in 2 different views in here just to kind of help measure workload of the whole process. So there is the Gantt chart option, which does build it out like this. So if you were having things that were maybe a little bit more dependent on each other, or if instead of just a basic order that was t-shirts. Maybe you had to send it off to a graphic designer to get the design approved, and then you needed to go back to the client, and maybe you needed to order in the specific garment and things of that nature. If there was more dependency steps, I guess, like that, this might be more useful. There's also this timeline view, which does a really good job of kind of outlining workload management. So what I've done here, and we'll just kind of scroll out so we can look at a broader perspective there, perfect, so these are all of the orders that are assigned to each person. So it's grouped by person. And then what you can do is you can do a summarize function that will count the number of orders. And then I've just kind of given it some color coding here, where if there's less than 5 orders, they're green, they're good to go, they can manage it. If it's in between, it's yellow. Or if it is red, it's obviously a little bit more than they should manage, and so they will need to make some adjustments there. This view is pretty handy as well, so you can easily say start and end things at different times. You can also adjust the entire record if you open it up. So maybe you're like, oh, this record isn't necessarily going to take 15 days to complete, maybe it'll only take 10, and then in which case that'll be a lot easier to manage because it's just not going to take them as long. Right, so different things like that makes it handy to kind of move around. There's a few more customizations in here, depending on what kind of information you want to kind of be looking at a glance, I suppose. So that's pretty handy. But yeah, basically I really like this view. It gives a lot of outlines in terms of workload management. So hopefully this video was helpful for you guys, kind of gave you an overview of what's possible with Airtable and how you can maybe look at it to manage your projects in CRM all in one handy tool.